Hey everybody, and welcome to a new shot, a new angle of Brent and Chris Talk.
Hey man, we're gonna talk, aren't we?
I know, they got a great episode. So we had something else planned for this week. We had to pull a switcheroo, so we're doing something a little unplanned, but a solid show this week.
Yeah, I mean, unplanned, but still enough time to prep, and I mean, we've been talking about this stuff all week anyway, so.
I know, and this was one of the ideas that was like going to be. Can we call this season 2? Did we already do that?
I don't think so.
We're gonna call it season 1 until we get a new camera, I think. But we'll call it like.
It's been a year.
Yeah, part 2 of season 1 maybe.
Okay.
Now we have a blue wall with a little bit of gray, a little more color here. Phased out the TV. Didn't work as planned.
Well, and that, and we don't want to get in trouble with copyright or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Trademark.
Probably should have turned that off. But you can't
It's
see
okay,
it, so that's alright.
Yeah, you have no idea what's on there.
Let's see. How has life been? It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, good. It's like seasons of change.
Yeah, we're falling. We've fallen on fall.
I know, and it's weird. I love fall, but it's just like, it never... We don't get that easing into the seasons that I feel like happened when you were a kid. Now it's just like, you wake up and then boom, it's cold.
Did you turn your heat on yet?
Heat's on. Well, mainly because I was told to turn the heat on.
Gotcha.
So the heat's on. But, yeah, life's good. Yourself?
Same. No, I don't have the heat on. I have
So no heat on.
no heat on.
Heaters? Like, how are you keeping this house warm? My house gets cool.
I tend to bake. It's a small house, and the oven really does keep it nice and toasty. So we haven't gone below 65 yet.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think my house has gone below that either. I mean, I don't know if it would have, but honestly, the approved temperature is more in the 70 range. So I set it for 68 as long as I can get away with it.
I've been doing photo shoots. I'm trying to, get my I'm getting the publishing company together. I'm putting best foot forward, so I've done photos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be releasing music soon, so gotta look polished and do all that
Right.
stuff. He says with his hair he cut himself. And
Looks good, by the way.
thank you so much. Yeah, I need another one. I just did Harry's and off subject, but I worry one day I'm gonna be the guy from Parks and Rec that cuts his own hair like as a joke. Everyone makes fun of it. I'm like, I tried, guys. I looked online. I read things.
Right.
I wasn't going for like. It was more of a necessity at first.
Sure.
And now it was just like, well, hey, why not save $30 or.
Yeah, I pay the person I go to $22 with a tip.
See,
That's included, so.
I think when I charged, they charged 20, and then I always tip them like $10.
You're generous.
I hate to say this. I like to have a good rapport with them.
I don't doubt that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like on Christmas, I gave her $50.
Nice. I don't do that.
So like,
yeah.
I make up for some of my lack of tipping very generous. I mean, I've always thought 20% was generous.
Yeah, I just figured
Not generous, but acceptable. Generous is more, but of course.
I know it's such a dumb thing. I want them to look forward to me coming in.
Yeah. Well, I figured my, sparkling personality and good looks would be enough to get me at least 40% of the way there.
Yeah.
And then paying them for their services would be the other 60.
Yeah.
Or less. Who knows?
I agree. No, I agree. And they always do such a nice job with the kids and stuff. And I do miss my hair. What would you say? My hair cutter? No, hairstylist.
Stylist, yes.
It's weird. I miss my hairstylist, but
I took Warren to Supercuts.
yeah, I understand.
It's quick, easy. He does a good job too. She does a good job. So, anyways, back into the show. While he stops coughing and drinks
I know
coffee.
Made me laugh as I was gonna say something.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for, man.
Like,
I'm the comic relief in this duo, if you couldn't tell.
thank you, Brent. I couldn't do it without you.
Me either.
So life has been happening. We had a debate.
Yes. Oh man,
We can unpack history here.
Yeah, I know everyone's been talking about it, but the debate is still hanging there, and I mean, who knows if we're gonna have another one, and we can get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the debate happened, and oof.
What do you think?
I mean, okay, my opinion is really there was not any real surprise of anything that really happened. But what I think was most interesting, my personal feeling was that although Biden could not resist taking swipes, I feel like if he didn't take any at all, it would have made him look weak to some degree, in some people's eyes.
I just thought of something that I need to stop you to do real quick. We're gonna pause this for 1 minute and make a quick change.
Okay.
Now people could hear us.
Good. So, now that you can hear us,
this is the point where I will have edited the audio.
Yeah.
So hopefully
now that I said so very loud, you're gonna be like listening there, and your headphones will jump in your ear, like, darn it, Brent.
Yeah. Okay. So new setup. We forgot to move the microphone.
Thank God you were able to do that.
Yeah.
Audio.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Debates. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you for not letting it go further. So, I just feel like there were no surprises that Biden had to defend himself to some. It's like we said, it's difficult not to defend yourself when you're under attack. It's like my first instinct anyway is not to cower away. It's to say, well, what are you talking about? And I don't blame him for telling the guy to shut up if you're being interrupted like that. Now I also know that there was a strategy behind what Donald Trump was doing. So
from everything I've heard from just watching the news and people who were close to Trump on the debate prep and stuff, that is not what they prepared him for.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't what they prepared him for.
Yeah,
but you can't tell me for one sec they didn't think he was going to go nuts to some degree. He's not capable of being restrained. I've never seen it at all.
I understand. I really do.
Like, even when he's supposed to be focusing on something completely different, he never can help himself but to dive into the politics side of it and, like, make it political.
Yes. I thought, okay, so here's my thing. I look forward to the debates more than I do any sporting event.
For sure. I was looking forward to that, too.
Like, I that's more my bread and butter. And, I was disappointed that we didn't get substance.
Well,
we got a show.
Yeah.
But it was lacking the substance.
That's what Donald Trump is.
All
show and no substance. So I think that's what you got. You got the Donald Trump show, and then you had Biden on the side trying to get a word in edgewise and make his own case for things. Yeah. I mean, I think that
Jiminy.
I know, he's always there.
It's that time of year, folks.
Followed you around too when you were at the park the other day on the phone.
I know.
Anyways, so yeah, that's what was pretty much my opinion. I mean, what do you think? More to add?
Sure. I'll jump in there and say it is disheartening to see the President of the United States told to shut up and being called a clown.
When it applies.
But yeah, that's the worst part about it.
I know, that is sad.
I think what's worse about that is we have a president that doesn't know when to shut up, and that can often be a clown.
Well, and I don't think it's unfair to call him names when he gives everybody else names. Like he called Joe Biden Sleepy.
Sleepy Joe. Yeah. Pocahontas for...
Yeah, Warren.
He's got a long list.
I mean...
And now they're calling it the China flu.
Right. Of course they are. So, I mean, and that's just it. You stop there and think to yourself, you don't want anybody to die, but now the guy's got... We're not going to skip ahead, but he's got coronavirus. And you're just like, shocker.
Yep. I don't even... It was Stephen Colbert who was like, it's not a shocker. Like... He said, for months, he's not worn masks. He's not taking this serious. He has downplayed it. It's not surprising that he ends up contracting it.
Yep.
I mean, we can jump there because that's what followed the debates. And
he was all sweaty in the debates. Did you notice that? He looked like he was anyway to me.
I completely agree. He looked terrible.
He was like standing on the thing like.
He looked like a caricature. Like the way his suit was fitting, he didn't look good. Like he didn't look like the commander of the free world.
Well, he wasn't restraining himself like one. I mean,
no.
You're in a wartime situation, literally bombs and then rockets are flying and people are going to war. Do you want that person issuing the commands?
No.
Feels like it'd be like back in Russia where they'd say, surrender's not an option, fight to the death. And it's like, what?
I'm not okay with that.
No.
Yeah. See, and I get it. I get that Joe Biden was not my first choice either by any means, but I think Joe Biden is far more competent when it comes to picking people to be, I don't care, let's take anything. I think he'll pick a better is a Secretary of Education. Whatever Betsy DeVos does, he'll have somebody that's better than her.
Correct.
Rick Perry, who I know he's no longer at Department of Energy, but that was a joke.
The EPA head?
Yeah, Scott Pruitt. Joke.
Yep.
That ambassador guy from the impeachments.
The Ukrainian ambassador?
No. Well, okay. Yeah, fine. Yeah, gosh, I can't remember her name.
I can't remember, no.
I feel terrible.
No. Yovanovich. She was the Ukrainian ambassador. Who was the other guy?
I was talking about... I know who you're talking about.
I was thinking about the guy that was making an ass of himself.
Oh.
No, I'm thinking about the other guy, the bald guy.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. He's the hotelier.
Correct.
Is it Sondum?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm making up words now.
Anyways.
But that guy. That was a joke.
Yeah, total joke.
And it was because he gave Trump $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't, and that's sort of the thing that follows this administration around is people that provide money to them in any fashion. They either get what they want or they are installed in some position that they want. It's just so plainly obvious. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen,
right?
Otherwise, and hasn't happened before. It's just so, like, in your face. And the way Trump would do it, in my opinion. Like, and that's just what's wrong. Like, and I've heard someone on the radio get interviewed, and she's like, "Well, I like him because he pisses people off." And it's like, that's not what you want in a leader.
Not the goal.
If you understand anything about leadership, let alone being president, you'll know that you don't want someone that makes people angry.
Yeah. I'm really tired. I've been talking to Chelsea about this. I'm tired of this movie, this movie trope that...
It's a sideshow.
Yeah, that
it's like
only,
a sideshow circus
that
thing.
Unlikely leaders are the best leaders. That is nonsense. In
most cases, yeah, definitely. It's just...
Yeah, our founding fathers very, very much knew what they were doing when they formed our country. I mean, I'm not saying they knew what they were doing, like they've done it before, but they had intent.
Right.
They had intent to start something.
And a lot of them had a ton of wherewithal. If they weren't educated, they had made themselves street smart, if you will, in some ways.
I think they all had a hard time finding one of us not well educated at the time.
Like, I'm thinking about people who were born in the lower, classes that, rose in rank, and, some of them who were well-read, but of their own accord, versus, going to traditional school.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of other people like that. So, that kind of thing.
I totally understand. I can't, we just watched Hamilton, so it's in my head now.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. It really was amazing.
I haven't watched it. I saw parts of it.
It's worth it.
Inherently, the way that's presented does not appeal to me, just mainly because I don't love musicals of any kind. If I'm honest, I don't really love them. I don't hate them, but I don't love them. And when it's history like that, I want it as it is. I don't want people rapping and stuff. I want nothing against rap. I want the straight story. I would have rather watched a documentary on history about Alexander.
Yeah, you like Mitchum.
Yeah, with the guy rolling in and pretending to be him, and he doesn't know what rap is and that kind of thing.
I love the creative aspect of it. I do love that he used
the outfits were cool.
And he used really cool source material from the production side. The way they mic'd the thing was incredible. They had custom mics made. They had them in people's hair pieces.
Oh.
And it's phenomenal. Sorry.
Yeah.
So let's dive. Trump coronavirus.
Yep.
Can I just go over some of the basic questions I would want to hear someone ask?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think it's fake? Think he's got it? Not a ploy to get out of the debate or to...
I mean, anything is possible, but I really do believe that if they're actually quarantining him and they really do have him in the hospital, that's a heck of a lot of stuff to quote-unquote fake.
Totally agree.
To not have something major come out at some point.
And Hope Hicks has it.
Correct.
Melania has it.
A ton of people have it.
Chris Christie came out today that had it.
Really?
And that's because he was on his debate prep team. Or I think he was actually on the team prepping Miss Coney-Barrett.
Yeah.
Coney-Barrett.
Okay.
Is it Coney?
Coney.
That was Brent's part of the show.
Yeah.
He knows her name better.
Yeah. Amy Coney-Barrett.
So, and we're getting to that. But, I don't know. Trump's older. He's obese. He's got some underlying conditions.
Yeah, I think he's in the hospital. And they said today he wasn't on oxygen, but they won't clarify whether he was at any point.
Right.
And I'm not like trying to celebrate any of this. I don't wish ill on like that on anybody for sure.
Correct.
But as I understand it, yeah, it's pretty serious in the sense that the guy's got it and he's displaying mild symptoms. I'm not going to talk at length about what I know, but I will say that I am familiar enough with a couple of people who have had COVID-19, and one in particular, it started out in this individual basically said that it wasn't going to be that bad. They did not feel that it was going to be much worse than any, cold or flu, whatever you want to call it, that they've had. But as it progressed and like settled and like developed different symptoms, settled in the person's chest, they developed other, like I said, more symptoms. So like you get one thing to have like the snuffles and a little cough.
Right.
It's another to have like a hacking cough and like to feel like something's settled in your chest and like
right.
it's getting not hard to breathe, but more difficult than it should be if you're just sitting here having a conversation. And so that's what kind of concerns me is, yeah, it's mild now, but I mean, if he just started showing symptoms and tested positive yesterday or whenever it was.
I know, and there's not, and that's
we're only a day plus in it. The guy's in the hospital for a few days to, out of an abundance of caution. I'm sure that's probably true too.
What are your thoughts about him getting that special drug?
The 8-gram dose of the
Ragine. I can't remember who made it.
What's it called? It's an experimental like cocktail of antibacterials or something like that. But
immune booster.
Yeah.
Something.
It's an experimental drug.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he's the one who was championing the ability to use experimental treatments and stuff. So why not have him be doing? I'm not surprised the guy would do it. I'm sure he would push for anything they think they could do. And I feel though as the president, those career type people who are running the infrastructure behind the scenes, they're probably, he's the one who gets to decide, but they're laying out like, here's what you can do. You could do all these things.
Right.
We recommend this. You could also do this.
Thoughts on him not using hydroxychloroquine?
Oh, I think that's hilarious. But I think he was supposed to have been taking it anyway, right?
That's
at some
what
point.
Said.
Who knows if it's been all along or up to this point, but if he had been taking it all along and now he got it, then that's kind of funny.
It is.
Not funny,
ironic,
haha, but just like, geez, that's just, just like him not wearing a mask and him being around everybody saying it was going to disappear, it wasn't going to be that bad. Like I told you, I highly doubt, like unless this guy's on death's door and we actually find out about it, I highly doubt there's any chance he's going to come out of it not saying that, it wasn't that bad, and people make it out to be way worse than it is.
That was my next question. What do you think the fallout's going to be?
Yep, they're going to go nuts over it. People are going to...
I worry him going, look, I'm a 70-something-year-old man, and I got through it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like, well, you got on a helicopter, you flew to Walter Reed, you probably had some
You had
really
experimental
smart...
treatments.
Right.
You had all the military doctors at your disposal, basically.
And I think that's appropriate. I think that's
Correct.
appropriate for the President of the United States.
I was going to say, you going to get that kind of treatment?
If I'm the President, I hope I do.
Well,
but
in your current state...
No one's going to care.
Not like that.
Though I will say, if I drive fast enough, I could probably make it to the hospital in about the same amount of time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm close.
Yeah, you got like a straight shot in there.
Straight shot.
So...
Just crash right into the emergency department thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my thoughts on, like, it's just a lot of unknowns. If it does get super serious, man, Mike Pence is a scary guy. Personally, I don't really want him being president either, but I'd rather have him than Trump, I think.
I don't even know.
If something happened.
Yeah,
I'm not wishing any ill on anybody,
I know.
please.
Yeah, I don't know what's appropriate to go down the road.
I know. I don't want to go crazy like that, so.
If we're just talking speculation of imaginary lineups, I do think Biden would have a very easy time defeating Pence.
Oh, yeah, if he was to run against him.
Yeah. Which, I mean, and I don't even know if they're talking about invoking the 25th, where Biden would be, in place. I think that's something we'd have to know about. I don't know how soon after the fact we would have to know about it, but
don't know.
I'm sure it would get made public. So all this is happening.
Yeah.
All of this is happening
It's
with an underlying thing
whirlwind
in the background that's still looming and still moving forward, very much without an ability to stop it.
No regard for anything.
Well, correct, and it's there's no unstoppable force to meet this. And there's no immovable object to meet this unstoppable force, which is Trump has named a replacement to replace
Notorious.
Ruth
RBG.
Bader Ginsburg. Right.
Yeah.
Notorious RBG.
I just like that name they gave her.
I know, and have you seen they've already been making shirts with Notorious ACB on it?
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, come on. You don't inherit a nickname for Pete's sakes.
Yeah, I honestly feel, that's a intentional swipe.
I guess. I mean,
and honestly, that's what's annoying to me, too, is people, I feel like, are pretending like politicians have short memories. Like, people, like, on the left aren't going to try to get there someday if they get this hammer down their throat. And I've heard, well, you would do it to us if you were in our shoes. I really don't believe that if we were in these exact shoes, and I'm saying we as in people that are tending to support the Democratic stance.
Me and you, when we get into politics.
But yeah, I definitely would not. I would not be comfortable, especially with what was said in 2016. To do a complete about face is like the epitome of being a politician and a ratty one at that.
And the worst part is the voters don't care.
That's just it too. That's my next thought too. Yep. Yeah, they don't care.
Which I don't know how you teach a country to have integrity. I don't mean to be mean by that, but I'm gonna go ahead and say.
Well, people want to sit there and like hammer on the Constitution and like, I demand my right to have guns and free speech and belong to whatever I want and do whatever I want. Well, if you believe in all that, then you also believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Yep. Inalienable rights. Bill of Rights, I mean, that applies to everybody and everything. And then they want, but you know what I mean. Like as it stands today, legally, people don't want to apply it like it's supposed to be. They want to go back to whatever ideal, fantasy world that they have in their mind, and that's not going to happen. Right. You have to contend with the other side. That's my point. Is balance. My goodness. Sorry.
No.
This
balance
is something I'm super passionate about.
Balance is a great, nuanced kind of overall topic for the show. Do you want to dive in? Tell us about Amy.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of turmoil, obviously.
Yeah, it makes sense the more I read.
Jiminy's concerned.
Yeah, I mean, he's chiming in now for sure. Jiminy!
And the problem is, the Senate has the votes.
Oh, yeah, it's going to happen. I really don't think there's any way possible this person's not going to be confirmed. So, I'll get into what... I have notes basically on a lot of what's going on. I'm going to have to refer to my phone because I've saved some court cases that I want to go over. I was not going to write everything down about them because there's nice little synopses on... I'm not shameful to say that Wikipedia actually has a really good... Because they're notes, they're sources. You can go to the links and click on them and it goes to where they're cited from court records. So it's legit.
And you can see all of our sources.
Correct.
Below the video.
Yep. So, Amy Coney-Barrett is 48 years old, so she's young. Yeah, she, I think realistically could be on the court till we're our parents' ages or older.
4
decades.
4 decades.
For sure.
Holy moly.
Yep. She was born in New Orleans, which is not the way you say New Orleans. People like to say that, which is weird. Mm-hmm. So she was born in New Orleans. From a very devout family. Her dad has been an ordained deacon since the early 80s in the Catholic Church.
How does that work?
This is bad. I should know more about it.
I'm sorry.
But what I can say is that, just in general, what are deacons?
No. We'll start there.
Okay, so a deacon in the church is like a spiritual leader, a person of like good moral standing. When you're ordained to be a deacon, you have like a standing within the church where, I don't know like all the things you're involved in, but I believe, you're there to, like I said, you're a person that people can come to for advice, kind of like a priest, but you don't perform necessarily the rites. You may be a part of some of the different spiritual rites.
You're not doing the vow of celibacy.
No, I think there are different vows that
Gotcha.
you're holding up, and you can be married, and like I think the people that are deacons. When I was going through RCIA, it was explained to me like the wife and the deacon are like a team. It's like a team effort. Like the family just is of that standing where they're offering spiritual guidance and leadership.
Interesting.
So, Typically, those kind of folks are extremely devout and very conservative. And that's not a knock. It's just my observation and what I've read. And so that's the childhood she comes from. That sort of upbringing. So she and she was a very outstanding student. She I believe was like an honor student at her high school. Then in college, she graduated with her bachelor's of arts. She was like magna cum laude, so like she was high honors. She graduated, I believe, with a major in English and a minor in French. And then she went from Rhodes College, where she got her BA, to the University of Notre Dame, where she got her JD. And then she took like law studies at Notre Dame. So she did that while she was at, I think I skipped over it, but like in high school she was a student body vice president, I think. So like she's got this leadership background and quality about her. In college, she was involved, I believe, at Notre Dame with the legal journal. I can't remember the name of it, and that's not really important. But what I'm trying to establish is she has this history of seeking leadership type positions as you go through her past, but also writing and being like co-authoring on different papers and such. And that comes to bite her, where I'll get down the road when she's starting to be nominated for judicial positions. So she got her JD. She clerked for Appellate Judge Silberman, and then the Supreme Court Justice Scalia, Antonin Scalia.
Sure.
Did that for a couple years. She then did like private practice law for a while, and actually I thought this was kind of funny. She did this for 3 years, and she actually worked on Bush versus Gore back in 2000 and helped to like investigate for George W. Bush.
I have I'm gonna mention that too in my stuff.
It's crazy.
Isn't
it? That's really interesting. It's like a small world, huh?
Yeah.
And so I told my wife, I'm like, this lady, the more you learn about her, you just get the sense that for the Republicans and the conservative side, she's been like groomed and put on the bench for this stuff. Like,
sure.
Pun intended, put on the bench to be put on the bench.
Right. Yeah.
So she once wrote that she wants to, quote, inspire a distinctly Christian worldview in every area of law. And those kind of things that she said and or written have really driven a lot of questions about her objectivity and the ability to not use her faith as the driving force in being a judge.
Sure.
Which she herself said that you should not do.
Right.
So her stance, so after she was in private law practice, she went back to Notre Dame. She actually taught somewhere else first, but I can't remember where it was at. It was just for like a year, and then she went to Notre Dame and has been teaching there for like 20-some years. Has been a very highly regarded law professor.
Mm-hmm.
Won like Professor of the Year or something like that for a couple of years. She's got 7 kids. 2 of them, I believe, are adopted. And she's like a prodigious person for exercise. Like, she's very regimented. Gets up like 4 o'clock in the morning and goes to work out, and then she drives to where her court sits from South Bend, Indiana, I think, in Chicago, where I think the 7th court where she's on now sits. So it's just like this. She's like Superwoman in terms of all the things that she's accomplished and or does. It's sort of nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. It makes you just think like she's going places, obviously. Right. So her stance, on the Constitution is she's an originalist, believes in things as the founding fathers wrote them, and believes they should be interpreted as such. It's not meant to be a living type situation and document, in the sense that it's going to evolve with the times. And she said that specifically. She did not expect it to be an evolutionary document. It was written a certain way, which like I told you, 2 issues with. Number one, how do you know you're interpreting it the way that they were thinking about it?
Right.
Because you can't talk to them. It's your interpretation. And 2, it's clear that the founding fathers meant for the law to evolve. Like, it's built on precedent over time, and it changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's inherent to it. And I guess it makes sense if you're a constitutional originalist, then you're going to sit there and say that this is the founding document, and so that is the precedent we're pulling from. But again, that argument in my mind is defeated by the fact that there's a history of law and precedent amendments to the Constitution. It's just inherent to the process.
Right.
Like
yeah.
we have mechanisms to make it happen.
Oh, no.
We have mechanisms to make it happen, and that's why you wind up... Oh, Lord. Sorry, guys. And that's why you wind up with changes.
Yep.
So that's that. Comments, questions.
So,
that's kind of the intro.
No, that's
Talk
good.
at length here.
That's good. I understand why she's getting a lot of the pushback that she's getting.
Just from that, for sure.
You know, and the fact that the courts have always tried to be balanced, where we have the conservative and the liberal side. This is a liberal seat that's up, and this does not sound like a liberal person in any way, shape, or form.
She will not have even remotely similar views to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, this is not... Now, I was reading through, and I will go through some of her cases and some things that she said to kind of help people understand why I find her a very complex person. She does not appeal to me, I guess. I'll say that up front. Mainly from the fact that I get this back and forth sense with the way she interprets things and like rules. But I guess what I'm getting at is sometimes I agree with what she's saying, and other times it's clear that she's doing it because that's the side she's picking.
Yeah.
And so that's the way it's going to be interpreted. I'm not saying that there's not logic behind it, but I don't agree with it, the way she comes up with a lot of this stuff. So, when she was she was a law professor for like 20-some years. She's currently a judge on the U.S. 7th Circuit Court and has been for just shy of 3 years. So it'll be 3 years she'll have been an actual judge in November. Yeah. Now, I have a problem with that. If you've only been a judge for 3 years and now you're going to go be on the Supreme Court, I don't care how long you've been a professor.
For 40 years that she could sit there, I mean,
yeah. There's no requirement. But that
right.
just feels wrong.
Yeah.
Gonna say that.
I'll have to look into some precedents behind that one.
Yeah, I know. I don't really know. So, when she was nominated, she got an earful from the Democrats in the Senate, and I don't think that the questions or line of questioning were as distasteful as some of the folks on the right said. I just feel like if you're trying to make a point, you got to go through sometimes questionable and maybe unsavory topics.
Make sure Netflix doesn't get that.
Yeah, I know. We don't want to get sued, guys, so just ignore what you're seeing about over here. So Dianne Feinstein came after, and this is like the big quote. Back in 1998, a professor at Notre Dame argued that Catholic judges should, in some cases, recuse themselves from death penalty cases because of their moral objections to the death penalty. And basically, what Barrett got questioned on that, and said that, basically that issues of faith are not something that should be the responsibility of the judicials today. She said that her personal church affiliation and religious beliefs do not bear on the discharge of her duties as a judge. So she said the right thing, even though before she wrote the opposite. Again, not the opposite, but wrote that in some cases she would have to recuse herself because she inherently has a viewpoint that's in conflict with the law, or
Sure.
could be.
Was that when she was a judge, or was
that she wrote that when she was? So this is the thing: is she said that she wrote that, or emphasized that she wrote that article with that professor in her third year of law school, and she was, quote, very much the junior partner in our collaboration. So trying to cop out and say that she was not the lead on that article, but her name was on it. She co-authored the thing, and if you don't support what's in the writing, then don't co-author it. You can be a source of material, but you don't have to be a co-author. So
whose job is this to go dig up law school papers from. I mean, I guess they're
somebody
all just
working.
domain.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, think about it like this. Like everything you do in school is part of your transcripts. They know what your grades were, the things you took, the class names,
Sure.
and all that. And then you think about it on both sides of the aisle. Anytime these people are being, nominated or whatever else, basically there's all these people working for these politicians who go out there and dig up all this stuff. And so that was the thing
opposition research.
Because Barrett said what she did in that article, the Democrats made the leap to say that she would not uphold Roe versus Wade because of her Catholic beliefs, because she flip-flopped on whether or not the death penalty would be something she would be involved with. And so Feinstein went after her and did the whole, the dogma lives loudly within you, and that's my concern. So because of that, people on the right, of course, are just like, well, this person's getting attacked just like Brett Kavanaugh, and they got her back. I know. So
that is nothing.
That whole situation
is nothing like how Brett Kavanaugh got attacked.
I know, but they draw parallels to that. So
sure.
It made her super popular with religious conservatives, and so she made it. Like they got her through. She I think it was a vote of like 54 or something. 55 to 43 is what elected her. And interestingly enough, of the 3 Democrats that voted for her, one of them was Tim Kaine, who was the VP candidate for Hillary. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, so on to some of the casework. I'm not going to delve into this too much.
No, I got some case stuff too.
I want to let you talk too.
Sure.
So
that's what people come here for.
Yeah, right. The things that I find interesting, like there was this case about Title IX, basically where this guy committed sexual assault at Purdue, and she sided with him that when he tried to enroll at a different university, he committed the sexual assault near Purdue University when he was trying to enroll there, and they wouldn't enroll him, and they denied him. So basically he sued the school because they weren't they assumed because he had committed a sexual assault as a male, that because of that, he made the argument that because he was a male, they were discriminating against him, wouldn't let him join the university. He won that case, and Barrett actually, she wrote part of the opinion that because the school wouldn't allow him, that they took liberties and did not allow him due process, and violated his Title IX rights by imposing a punishment if infected by sexual bias, basically is what they said. And that's how law can be complex, and so it doesn't always come out the fairy tale way you think it's going to. Other ones. So she, there's gosh darn it. She's never ruled on an abortion case, but there was this case that was brought before her where a person had one of those IUD things in her, and it broke off, and she had to get a hysterectomy to fix the issue. And Barrett sided with the manufacturer, saying it was not that the person who got hurt by it did not prove that it was their fault. So she sided that way in one case. Another case, though, she was part of a unanimous panel that upheld Chicago's bubble ordinance prohibiting approaching someone who's within 50 feet of an abortion clinic without consent. So that would be, in my mind, I would agree with that. I would not agree with the first two, necessarily.
Yeah.
Another case, sorry.
No, I like the cases.
Qualified immunity, the thing with the police officers.
Sure.
There was a case where a police detective knowingly provided false and misleading information in a probable cause affidavit that was used to obtain an arrest warrant. And so what she ruled, her court found that detective their lies and omissions violated their Fourth Amendment rights to that qualified immunity. So again, I agree with that. The guy lied. He was trying to say he was immune from prosecution, but they said no, you lied, so you're not qualified for that.
Interesting.
Yep. Same kind of thing. She ruled similarly with a prison officer who called a prisoner a snitch, and exposed them to risk of harm from other inmates. And so that prison officer was trying to get out of saying that they had endangered that person. They were qualified immunity, couldn't be prosecuted for that. Yeah. Yeah. I have one more. I'm trying to find it. It's environmental related. I thought this one was interesting. Yeah. So it's basically a developer against the Army Corps of Engineers. Basically, the Army was trying to say that this wetland was part of the United States. Basically, the Army Corps of Engineers has discretion over the waterways of the U.S.
Right. Yeah.
And so you can't own those.
Sure.
This property developer basically was trying to develop land that was 11 miles away from the nearest navigable waters. And so the Army Corps of Engineers was trying to protect the wetlands and say no, it's part of the U.S. water table and water protected lands. The developer said no, and basically the court found that the Corps had not provided substantial evidence of a significant nexus to navigate these waters. As a result, the property was not protected from development under the Clean Water Act, and the developer got to develop the wetlands. Yeah, don't agree with that one.
So it does sound like she tends to lean on corporations, corporations.
Yeah. Oh man, she said that John Roberts misinterpreted the law in applying that the Affordable Care Act was a legal statute and constitutional. Yeah, she's against Obamacare, basically. So that's who Trump has nominated for the Supreme Court.
Oh gosh, that's tough.
Yeah.
What we didn't talk about it. What's the group she's part of?
Oh, the People of Praise. So she's a Catholic. She belongs to her regular Catholic church, her local parish. Sure. But she also belongs to People of Praise, it's a small group. I think approximately 1,700 members, and it's sort of like belonging to a religious club. They promise to pay 5% of their annual salary to it and dues, and from what I understand, the objective is to basically promote and live out very conservative Christian values, and it's the whole typical thing that I find kind of funny, where women are not allowed to hold leadership positions in the church and also not in this group, but they're also they're encouraged to seek out work and work outside of the home and a career. So it's like, well, you can't be a leader, but you can go make money for us. It's that whole deal. It's like, and again, I didn't dig into a ton about People of Praise. People have been calling it a church. It's not a church. It's a religious affiliated group. There's Protestants in it and other religious sects, denominations. So it's not like it's just a Catholic thing. It was founded in South Bend, Indiana, I think back in the 70s. And so it's not a religion per se, but it's just like...
What does Mayor Pete have to say about this?
Who knows? I don't think he'd be happy.
Probably not.
I don't think they'd be happy about him either.
Probably not. Probably not.
So, yeah, that whole thing, I think the People of Praise thing is a little bit blown out of proportion, personally. Yeah. But, I mean, it definitely... I find it ridiculous that she's not going to use her faith as some way of guiding her judicial execution.
So, we can jump into mine a little bit on that. So that kind of leads us to separation of church and state.
Yeah.
And
which is clear as what, Chris?
Day.
Yeah. It's clear as day. Super easy to understand.
No, it's super muddy, and it has some contradictions in there that I'll get to. It's interesting. I was very ignorant about this going into it. I learned a whole bunch.
Well, I thought I knew things, but our preliminary discussion convinced me that I don't.
Right. So, separation of church and state. Well, that's actually just part of our First Amendment of freedom of speech. And it really comes from Thomas Jefferson, who wrote a Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom, in which it claimed no man shall be compelled to frequent or support any religious worship, place or ministry whatsoever, nor shall be enforced, not shall be enforced in his body or goods, nor shall otherwise suffer on account of his religious beliefs or opinions, but that all men shall be free to profess by any, I can't read my writing, any means to maintain their opinions in matters of religion, and that the same shall in no wise diminish or enlarge or affect their civic capacities. I butchered that pretty good, but
I gotcha.
Yeah, and eventually this made part of our First Amendment, this whole Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom.
It's literally part of like one paragraph, right?
Yeah, no, it's pretty sparse. It often gets misconstrued as like separation of church and state gets taken as don't bring your faith into public view, you know?
Right.
And it actually kind of comes from, the actual phrase itself comes from a letter that Thomas Jefferson had written in correspondence with this committee of the Danbury Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm.
And they wrote him to say what religious privileges we enjoy as favors granted, not as inalienable rights. And so he wrote them back, and in his response, he explained the intent of the Establishment Clause and the Exercise Clause of the First Amendment, which reads, Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment or religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. He said that this effectively built a wall of separation between church and state.
Mm-hmm.
And any other fun facts? Oh, we actually celebrate National Religious Freedom Day on, I think it's January 16th.
Interesting.
And that is based off of it's commemorating this Virginia Statute of Religious Freedom. It's on the anniversary of that.
So we feel as though separation of church and state is like a law, where it's a separate thing, and you can't drag the two worlds into each other.
Right.
But when in fact it's really just the fact that you're allowed religious freedom as an individual and to practice it. It has nothing to do with whether or not you can muddy the waters between the two.
Right. Well, and it does get muddy because, like, basically.
At least that from that.
Yeah. Right. I mean, like, basically, church can't rule over state, and state can't rule over church.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Establishment Clause kind of broke this down for us. There's a few key terms we're going to need to know. Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause are the two big ones.
Mm-hmm.
So the Establishment Clause means the government can't have an official religion.
Okay.
So no national religion. Government can't favor a religion over another. I know.
Good luck with that.
I know, and it gets muddy. Now, it also prohibits the government from preferring religion over non-religion, but also vice versa. It can't favor non-religion over religious. So it's a two-way street.
It's supposed to be balanced.
It's supposed to be balanced, and this is where it gets a little confusing. So the Supreme Court previously has allowed religious invocations to open legislative sessions, something my dad got to do. We got to go to D.C., and he did the invocation where he opened the session with prayer. And I also remember one that ruled they couldn't have a agnostic person up there or an atheist person up there because they didn't have faith, which...
That's the whole non-religious over religious thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's some of the muddy water stuff. So other things they've allowed...
so you just go with a priest.
They have allowed public funds to be used for private or religious school busing, which...
I'm not surprised.
Right, and I can explain some of those better later.
DeVos is like a pro at that.
Things that they ruled against, though, is overtly religious displays at courthouses. Can't do that.
Okay.
You can't have state funding supplementing teacher salaries at religious schools. So the government can't substitute the salaries if you're teaching a religious doctrine.
Interesting.
But they can pay for you to be bused to a religious school.
We'll pay for you to get there, but we're not going to pay for you to get taught.
Right, and I know it gets muddy, but like It's just, it works, I guess.
Okay.
So, other things ruled against some overtly religious holiday decorations on public land. Couldn't do that. And a gray area is existing religious monuments. They're very, very strong about not letting new monuments be formed. They'll have some gray area about the ones that have been there for a long time. A little gray area. Okay, so that's the Establishment Clause. Okay, now we go to the Free Exercise Clause, which it reserves the right of American citizens to accept any religious beliefs and engage in religious rituals. It protects not just beliefs, but the actions that also, the actions made on behalf of those beliefs.
Interesting.
So, this is where it gets a little sketchy. It allows for some violation of the laws as long as it's violated for religious reasons.
Yeah.
And it says no taxes.
Some.
Right, yeah. There's no taxes. And it kind of plays to like the free market economic plan. You can't tax churches because, well, then certain churches would be worth more money, and then you have a kind of incentive plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way I took it. If you don't have the taxes, you're allowing churches to represent freely, and there can't be any favoritism, which might occur from
favorable.
Think about it. The Catholic Church is going to make way more money than a church that's maybe just starting out, or a religion that's not as well documented.
Okay, I could buy that.
Easily, I could see it be then favored for certain laws or whatnot.
Okay.
So, I talked about ironic problems. Okay. So, the Free Exercise Clause implies special accommodations to religious beliefs and actions to the point of being exempt from certain laws, right?
Right.
But some say that this violates the neutrality between religion and non-religion as stated in the Establishment Clause, which prohibits the government from giving any special benefit or recognition to the religion. So which is it?
Right. Depends on who you are.
It does.
And who's in the Supreme Court to lay down the law of the land.
And I think this, I don't know, I think it's really interesting. Oh, I've been moved out of shot slowly. Can we turn the camera a little?
It was the Brent show there for a little bit.
Welcome to the Brent Show!
Do I get my own theme music?
Sure, man. I like your song. We'll see how long this lasts. I just think it's interesting because with the Free Exercise Clause, they can't make laws that stop you, but then because of the Establishment Clause, how is that not special treatment, which they're not allowed to do either?
Right.
And I don't have great answers. I really don't.
There's not like simple answers to this, though. I mean, the problem you run into is because of the way it's defined, and so many other things are defined, like law inherently allows for some gray areas. You know what I mean? It's like the whole thing where,
yes,
it's like me having my finger right here. I'm not assaulting you, but like you might interpret that I'm gonna do something bad to you. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff like that.
Right, and so I thought this was just interesting. Until 1940, there was a case, Cantwell versus Connecticut, where the First Amendment was applied. So before that case in 1940, the First Amendment was applied only to U.S. Congress, and states could actually abridge the Free Exercise Clause, meaning they didn't have to use all of it. They could do what they wanted. But after 1940, after that case, they decided through the Incorporation Doctrine, which is a constitutional doctrine that made the first 10 amendments to the Constitution applicable to the states through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment.
Ugh.
So
basically establishing legal standard for those to be applied to the states without the states being able to do anything about it.
Right. 14th Amendment, super simple, equal protection of the laws.
Yep.
For everybody.
Yep.
And it was featured in the Brown versus Board of Education, which had to do with, racial discrimination. It's been principle in Roe versus Wade, and it was in principle thing in Bush versus Gore. 14th Amendment. So basically, Section 1 of the 14th Amendment says, no state shall make or enforce any laws which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States.
There you go.
So up until 1940, states were kind of getting a little like this with the exercise clause on who they favorited and stuff like that. And the courts, states and states' courts could adopt similar laws, but were under no obligation to.
Okay. Didn't know what you're getting.
You didn't know what you were getting for 1940. And they had something called, now what they do is they have something called selective incorporation.
Okay.
I feel like I basically got a law degree after this.
Yeah, man, this is a lot.
Selective incorporation, which means the SCOTUS could piecemeal parts of amendments for cases rather than having to apply the whole amendment.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Talk about making up the rules as you go along.
Right.
I like this part. Let's do that.
Yeah. Take a little bit of this. Take a little bit of that.
Wow. Okay.
Fun tidbit: the 9th and the 10th Amendment have not ever been incorporated. They're supposed to be applied through the 14th Amendment, but the SCOTUS has never really used the 9th and 10th Amendment in a decision. I don't know what to do with that information. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like, you got to use all 1 through 10. We like the first 8.
Yeah, right? Well, just because they wrote it doesn't mean you have to apply it.
Right, sure.
To whatever your rulings are.
So, there's some cool cases in the whole separation of church and state that have... the one I thought was interesting first was Trinity Lutheran.
Okay.
And basically they have their church, but they also had a playground. And the playground was part of a daycare. The daycare accepted all denominations and stuff like that, but they did have some with Christian beliefs and stuff like that.
Okay.
As part of their
curriculum. Yeah.
So they applied in Missouri to be on this grant program that would use recycled tires to be the playground.
Yeah, the material they run on.
Yeah, the medium.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it, you know.
It's a medium. It's a medium of sorts.
And so, out of 43 applicants, they were number 5. Their need was ranked to be number 5.
Oh, okay.
And then they got completely removed from the list because there was religion involved. And so that ended up being
They sued them.
They sued them, and they said it because they were removed only because of their religious affiliation that was targeting them. And because they were targeted for their religion, that went against the free exercise thing. So they were able to then
get their grant. Wow.
Then I found Everson versus the Board of Education of Earwig? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Okay.
So basically, local school district. It was decided. I think it's New Jersey, but a local school district could reimburse parents for the public transportation to public, private, and parochial schools.
Okay.
And it ruled that states can't hamper its citizens' free exercise of their religion. Meaning, if I want to send my kids to public school and you want to send your kids to private or parochial schools,
the reimbursement can't be.
Yeah, they can't punish you because
can't be separate or non-existent for anybody else.
But the teacher there can't get subsidized from the government.
Right, if it's religious teaching.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you're going to offer it, I see that.
Right.
That makes sense.
If you're going to offer it, right. And so I got 2 more.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Can't read my writing. I think it's McDaniel. It's McDaniel because McPanel doesn't make sense.
McPanel does not make sense.
We'll go with McDaniel versus Patty.
Patty.
I know. The court, and this is an old one. The court struck down a Tennessee statute that disqualified ministers from serving as legislators because, again, it was ruled.
Just because they were.
Only reason I can't be, you know.
I mean, that's kind of harsh if your minister can't be a legislator. But
Right. But
talk about 2 hats.
Yeah, and that's what I like about this. Before I've used this so incorrectly before.
Yeah.
I misinterpreted
well, there's an obvious thing that
so
you could infer from it, right? And I think it's what everybody does. And then when you look at it, you're like, wow, this is a different thing altogether.
And I really think we're going to touch again on this next week because there was a few other cases that I think needed a little bit more time. Like I wanted to dive into the whole Hobby Lobby thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I think there's a lot there. So maybe we can make this a continuation.
Yeah.
And we've talked to a local lawyer.
We didn't dive into like the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe that could be the angle.
I'm down.
So
I'm totally down.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, that'll be next week because we have a local lawyer that's getting back to us too.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we were going to try to do this show next week. Had some things happen.
Not going to wait.
Not going to wait. My last one I thought was interesting was the Church of the Lukumi.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Lukuni Babalu.
Like that. Bababoo.
And the religion was Santeria.
I don't practice Santeria.
And basically, they were operating as a religion, or where this happened was it was in a community in Florida where they made laws saying that you could not sacrifice these animals, which I get. I get.
Yeah.
But the Church of the Lukami Babalu took it to the Supreme Court, and it was ruled that the community could not make rules regulating what they couldn't do for these religious practices.
Right, and that gets into the whole, like, you can break the laws to some degree for religious reasons.
Correct. And so literally in Florida and assuming other places, they're
sacrificing
chickens, doves, and turtles was on the list too. Yeah, and so I mean, I think it's fascinating. I was like, I was blown away when I actually dove into what this actually was. And again, I love the idea that, and just to go back to what I said in the beginning, that it's often viewed as don't bring your faith into the public square. And that's not what this is.
At all.
Yeah,
there's nothing saying you really can't. It's just something that we hold people to a standard to. Like what I was saying about Barrett.
Right, and that's where I don't know, like, again, I don't think it's outrageous to say she should check herself out for
you get morals
death cases, but
and
at the
other
same
things.
time, why is it fair to penalize her just for that alone?
Correct, it's not.
And
that's a lot of what I feel is complicated about the situation is people are very obviously prejudging her in the way she's gonna do this, and I think maybe to some degree rightfully so because of your own political and religious type beliefs or lack thereof, but also, I mean, it's the whole thing about we talk about balance.
Right.
You know, Roberts I think has done a decent job of balance.
I agree with you. And
like, I'm not totally happy, but I'm okay with him.
That's where, like, I feel like me and you have to exercise our own integrity and say, like, I do understand why she got approved.
Correct.
Like,
absolutely.
I wish we had the votes to block her.
There's no way to say she's unqualified unless you were going to make the whole case on the fact that she's only been a judge for 3 years.
And again, like you said, there's no
reason, man. You can't tell. You could be nominated for the Supreme Court. You don't have to be a lawyer.
Yeah, I was, like, shocked by that. Like, judges in the back of the day used to have no necessarily legal training.
Correct.
They were farmers. They
were magistrate.
So me and Brent listened to this author, Ken Follett.
Yep.
And he just came out with this book called what is it? The
Morning and the Evening.
The Morning and the Evening. And great book. Go check it out. It's so good. And it was a prequel to one of my favorite books of all times, which was Pillars of the Earth.
Yep.
Which is now part of a Kingsbridge anthology, if you will.
Yeah, it's like a whole series of books.
So yeah, you got Pillars of the Earth he wrote first, then it was World Without End, then Column of Fire.
Yep.
And now he wrote a prequel, which is is it Evening in the Morning or is it the Morning?
Morning in the Evening. There's also a book called A Place Called Freedom, and that is almost like a step beyond A Column of Fire.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. See, I don't know these things. I haven't listened to Column of Fire yet.
You got to.
Oh,
that's a good one too.
I don't know where I was going with this, but in the books, you know, it's like the judges there are the noblemen.
Correct, and priests.
And there's one line they say. It says, you know, because they have money, because they have power, people expect them to provide justice. Like, and I just think that's something we've gotten so far away from.
Well, in a base sense, that makes sense.
In a base sense, that makes sense.
But, like you say, that is counting on the benevolence of quote-unquote tyrants.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know.
And that's the whole thing, a premise you read, too, about history is, like, a place was only as prosperous as its leader allowed, like, in terms of abilities and freedoms and
yeah, I mean, it's great. If you're an expert at collecting taxes, but your people don't have the money to innovate and grow and stuff like that.
Or eat.
Yeah, what are you leading?
Yeah. arbitrarily ruling with an iron fist is not a way to accomplish a lot. And that's where you run into the quote unquote dark ages where
they literally had technology.
The Romans retreated and it was gone.
And yeah, we lost technology that had made us advanced. Yep. And we literally reverted into the dark.
Yep.
Yep.
I lost cleanliness and water and
the
sanitation.
book. They talked about how that when Rome fell, the potters,
correct,
the people who made the big vats to store food, that went with it.
Yep. And for the most part, yeah.
All of a sudden, we had knowledge to store food, and then we lost it.
Yep. Aqueducts and sanitation.
Well, and I've seen other things too where they've kept buildings cool.
Yep.
They were able to keep buildings cool with the aqueducts and stuff like
Absolutely.
that.
The technology to they collected urine to bleach out their robes.
Yeah, because it turns into ammonia
or I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I'm talking out of turn there, but there was technology lost.
Save for pee, people. That's what we're trying to say.
Right. We're not doing that. I'm not doing that. You can't.
Just like Brent.
Charles is gonna be like, why does my scrub smell like pee?
Yeah, God. So I think it's that funny trope a lot.
Yeah, right.
I think that's it.
Yeah. No, this was a good one though. I think we hammered on what's been going on, and we got into a topic that we haven't touched on. Look for more of that because I think we've gotten into a lot of stuff, which is the political fervor, and it's not that was a bad thing, but we want to take a step back and reach out to some other topics.
I will say, tune in next week to hear us. A local lawyer again. I really respect. He's going to get some cases that he thought were really cool that we should look at. So we'll definitely hit on those. I think the other thing we should talk about maybe is that fair tax plan.
I'm interested for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think we could.
I need to research it some. I know a little bit about it, so.
Yeah, next week we're going to talk about. We'll finish on with separation church and state, and then we'll dive into the tax plan that is happening, and also maybe some of the history behind the different taxes, because we always hear when Eisenhower was in, there was 50-60% tax on the rich. Mm-hmm. Let's find out why we were there and how we got back from it. Welcome to our planning meeting, everybody.
Yeah, right. I'm making notes now.
So, thank you for watching.
Yeah,
we had a milestone that we had to share. We have over 1,000 listens on SoundCloud.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I don't know how that happened. Thank you, everybody. And
absolutely.
If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, we would love to make this community grow. We would love to get more people watching. And if you could share it with people you know, if you could, give us a like or a thumbs up or subscribe, all of that helps us so much.
Yep.
And we hope you enjoy what you're seeing.
Absolutely, folks.
Or hearing.
Be sure to comment, leave us feedback of any kind if you have it, and thanks again. Appreciate it.
Have a nice day, and I gotta see where the stop button is. Have a nice day. Have a nice week.
Adios, amigos.